Hi, Adrian from Thatch Fitness. Today's video blog is a continuation of what I've been covering over the last few clips, and that is of pelvic stability and sort of overall core stability. Now, the exercise that I want to spend some time talking about today is what is typically known as a glute bridge or a hip thrust. Now, what's become hugely popular globally is to do hip thrusts or glute bridges with large amounts of weight, as you can see here. Now, one of the challenges with doing an exercise like this is that it's all one plane, it's two legs, there's really a specific focus, which is that in this particular case of just getting the biggest backside you can, and not really aiming at trying to develop a really functional, stable pelvis, which should be the ultimate goal of the exercise. Now, what I like to do is I like to modify these exercises such that you don't need to use weight in most cases. You just try and make the environment unstable whilst you're doing the exercise, and that then places maximum stress on all of those muscles that don't just move the pelvis in one direction but also deals with rotations and tilts. That's the way we get the most functional core and particular pelvic stability, is by training all of those muscles in a really appropriate way. So what I want to do now is I want to take you through 4 exercises that require no weight. You can do it just about anywhere, and these will really challenge all of these pelvic stabiliser muscles that will then teach your core to be strong and conditioned and hold the right positions when you do a whole bunch of movement patterns. So to start the exercise, what I'd like you to do is I want you to put your elbows on the ground and put your hands on either on your stomach or on your chest. So the goal of the glute bridge exercise is to squeeze your backside and lift your pelvis up until you get your body in a straight line. Now, this again, exercise by itself is not bad for the glutes, but we can very quickly make the exercise extremely challenging. So what I'm going to do here is what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put all the weight onto one leg, and I want to slowly lift the other leg up off the ground and then slowly place it back onto the ground again. And then relax, reset, squeeze my backside, all my weight on the other leg, slowly lift one leg in the air, and then slowly place it back to the ground again. And then down. Now, the key with this exercise is at the moment that you lift one leg off the ground, of course, your pelvis is going to want to drop to the side that the leg's being lifted up. This is where the key functional training comes from. So what I want you to focus on is that when you're about to lift that leg in the air, that's going to be the point where your hip's going to want to drop. You have to put a really extra emphasis on trying to keep that pelvis, particularly the pelvis of the leg that you're lifting up, keep that from dropping at any distance at all. And then once you go to lower the leg back down, that seems to be the second point where the hip then is going to want to drop. And so as you go to lower your leg down, you must further emphasize keeping that hip up off the ground. So that's the first exercise. Now, how do we make that exercise harder? By having my elbows on the ground, I've made it a very stable environment. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to cross my arms. I'd like you to do the same. So cross your arms so the elbows are off the ground and repeat the exercise. So instead of having elbows here, I'm going to cross my arms here this time. So I'm going to squeeze up until I get to my bridge position. Then I'm going to squeeze my glutes, and this is significantly harder. I'm going to try and lift my leg off the ground, but not let my hip move at all. I don't want it to drop, and as I lower it down, keep the hip very high. Same deal. On the other side, I'm going to contract, lift my leg up, hold my hip high, lower my leg down, keep my hip high, don't let it drop, and then to the floor. So that becomes much harder in terms of maintaining stability. So again, if we want to then take it another step beyond that, and I'm going to show you a couple of different angles of this, is what I want you to now do is I'm going to get you to do a leg lift again, starting with the elbows on the ground, but this time I'm going to get you to now take your leg out to the side and still maintain this hip position. The hip position is the key point in the exercise. So start position, elbows on the ground, hands on my chest, squeeze my glutes and get myself into my bridge position. Really keep my pelvis still. I'm going to lift one leg off the ground, and then what I'm going to then do, keeping that hip high, I'm going to try and drop this leg out to the side, keeping my hip high, bring it back in, keeping the hip high, squeezing my glutes as hard as I can, and then slowly lower my leg to the ground without letting my hip drop. Short rest, then recontract, lift my leg up, slowly take my leg out to the side without letting that hip drop at all. back up to my start position. As I lower, keep that hip high to the ground and then relax. So again, that's just another level of hardness. And then if we want to take it further, so if you can do this exercise with control, then I have a sort of fourth stage of this exercise, which is super challenging, and that's now to take the stability away from your elbows. And this is just about as hard as it gets in terms of doing any sort of pelvic stability work. So let me demonstrate. So start position, this time arms crossed. So I'm going to squeeze my glutes and get myself up to my bridge position. I'm then going to lift my leg off the ground. Now, as I go to lift my leg out to the side, because I haven't got my arms to stabilise, this is significantly harder. This is loading up everything. Bring my leg back and slowly lower it back down. Swap legs, glute high, lift up, slowly take my leg out to the side as far as I can, trying to keep that hip high, really strong through my core. Bring my leg back and lower it down and then back. So there's a way that you can really develop extremely good pelvic stability and core strength and glute strength and help you get out of an anterior pelvic tilt if that's what one of your problems is, without having to lift any weights at all, and it's extremely challenging. Now, some key things. Do the exercise slowly. I often see people get into these exercises and they swing their legs fast and swing them around. You don't want to do that at this stage. The goal early on is to have total control over leg movements and your pelvic positioning and movement whilst you're doing these exercises. In time, you can start to speed up the exercise or modifications or variations of this exercise, but for now, slow and controlled is the key. And a small number of repetitions. I typically give my clients 2 to 3 sets of maybe 3 to 4 per leg, and that's all, and that's enough. You do that slow and controlled, and that's a really hard workout.